Good day everyone, so this is the continuation of my report. The topic is all about the kingdom fungi. So what are fungi? Do you like fungi in your pizza? You do if you like mushrooms. Mushrooms are type of fungi. You might be surprised to know that mushrooms is only a small part of the organisms that produces it. So, most of the fungus grows below the mushrooms underground or beneath the surface of the organic material or which it is growing. Let us know the characteristics of fungi. Most fungi are many-celled. Their cells are eukaryotic and contain membrane-bound cell structures including a nucleus. Some fungi cells contain more than one nucleus. Fungi cells don't contain chlorophyll and cannot make their own food. So, fungi are not producers. Most fungi are saprophytes, but some are parasites. Through the production of small waterproof structures called spores, fungi reproduce. Spores can spread from place to place and grow into a new fungus under the right conditions. Fungi grow best in warm, humid areas such as the tropical forests or the spaces between your toes. Mildew, a type of fungus, might be growing on the shower curtain in your bathroom. Next is the structures or the structure and function of a fungi. The body of a fungus is usually a mass of many-celled, thread-like tubes called hyphae. Filaments of hyphae form a mat in the most fungi. The hyphae grow throughout the fungus food source, so enzymes from the fungus help break down the food. The fungal cells in the mat of the hyphae then absorb the digested food. So, hyphae are also important in sexual reproduction of fungi. When fungi reproduce sexually, they do not produce sex cells. Instead, hyphae of two different organisms of the same type of fungus grow close together and fuse. A special reproductive structure grows where the two hyphae join and spores are reproduced in it. The type of structure that is produced depends on the type of fungus. Actually, fungi come in many sizes, shapes, and colors. Next is, let us know the classification of fungi. You must know the four major phyla, division depending on the type of protein body they produce. One is, we have the Basidiomycota or the club fungi. Mushrooms, puffballs, bracket fungi, rust, smooths, and toadstools are examples of Basidiomycota. Next is we have the Ascomycota, known as the sac fungi. Yeast, morels, truffles are example of that. And third is we have the Zycomycota, the bread molds, rhizopus, black bread mold. And fourth we have the Deuteromycota, the fungi imperfecti. So what is Basidiomycota? Basidiomycota, it is as what I said a while ago, that mushroom, sol fungi, and toadstool are all examples of club fungi. The spores of these fungi are produced in a club-shaped part found in the reproductive structures. On the bottom of the cup of a mushrooms, you will see structures called gills. If you use a microscope to look at a gill, you will see spores hanging from these club-shaped parts. So take note that a few are poisonous, high in protein, and so on. Just look at the slide here. Next is we have the Ascomycota, or known as the sac fungi. It is a protein bodies form sacs of spores where fertilization occurs. Yeast, molds, morels, and truffles are all examples of sac fungi. The spores of these fungi are produced in little sac-like parts of the reproductive structure. This group also includes examples of one called fungi, the yeast. Many morels are edible and appear in early spring. Spore sacs are located in the manifolds. Spore sacs are produced inside the cup-shaped area of the cup fungus. The importance of Ascomycota. The ergot fungus contains a number of highly poisonous and psychoactive alkaloids, including lysergic acid or LSD, which was synthesized from the ergot fungus in 1938 by chemist Albert Hofmann. Ergot poisoning is a proposed explanation by bewitchment. Then, ergotism may occur in those who eat contaminated bread. Yeast is very important for humans in that yeast enzymes aid preparation of baked goods. Some yeast cause disease of plants and animals. Yeast used in production of glycerol. So now, let us proceed to the zygomycota. So commonly called the bread molds, the zygomycota are terrestrial fungi whose protein bodies are mostly microscopic in nature. So although their asexually produced sporangia can reach greater than 5 cm tall in some species. So zygomycota are terrestrial organisms. They live in close to plants, usually in soil and on decaying plant matter. Because they decompose soil, plant matter, and dung, they have a major role in the carbon cycle. So zygomycota are also pathogens for animals, amoebas, plants, and other fungi. So the last group of fungi we will be discussing is the deuteromycota. Because members of this group lack of sexual stage, they are often referred to as imperfect fungi, or normally the fungi imperfecti. The Deuteromycota is referred to as form phylum because the divisions within the group are based on morphology and not on common phylogenetic background. It is thus considered an artificial grouping. We have heard two medical importance of the Deuteromycota molds of the genus Penicillin. We are of great therapeutic importance, antibiotic, gourmet cheese. Next is we have the aspergillus, the citric acid, soy sauce, and so on. Next is, let us proceed to the symbiotic relationship. What are the three types of symbiotic relationship? So, for this, we have the three different symbiotic relationships. We have the mutualism, the commensalism, and the parasitism. So, this symbiosis is defined as a close, prolonged association between two or more different biological species. This relationship can be symbiotic or mutualistic, where both parties involved benefit from the interaction, or it can be parasitic, where one party benefits while the other is harmed. So, fungal infections in humans. Ringworm, it is a group of fungi that live of skin, hair, and nail cells cause a ringworm. So that is all about for the about the kingdom of fungi. To the parasites. So what is parasite? Parasite is an organism that lives on or in a host organisms and gets its food from or at the expense of its host. There are three main classes of parasites that can cause disease in humans. We have the protozoa, helminths, and ectoparasites. So parasites can be, one is facultative parasites. It is a certain plants, fungi, animals, and microbes. It can be facultative parasites. A specific example is the nematode, species Strongylides and Stercorales. This is a type of roundworm that can cause the disease strongylidiasis when it infects humans, but it can also be found free-living. So second is obligate parasite, is a parasite that depends completely on the host for its habitat, nourishment, reproduction, and survival. Without the host, it will eventually die. Third is the clinical parasitology, is the study of important parasites which causes disease to humans. Classification, symptoms, disease, life cycle, transmission, and treatment. Infections of humans caused by parasite number in the billions and range from relatively harmless to fatal. Next is division in parasitology. One is protozoa, helminths, and A for roundworm and B for flatworms. Parasitism. Organisms depend upon another for living. One is living at the expense of the other and harmful, called parasite. The other organism is called a host. So host, it is organisms harboring the parasite species may be affected or not. So now let us proceed to the classification of host. One is we have the definitive host. A definitive host is one that hosts the parasite until sexual maturity. An example of parasite is malaria, which uses the mosquito as a definitive host. And second, we have the unintermediate host, often acts as a vector of a parasite to reach its definitive host, where it will become mature. Thus, the intermediate host serves only as a site wherein the parasite spends a particular developmental stage of its life cycle. So, example of that is tapeworm using a pig as intermediate host. Next, the reservoir host. The carrier host is well adapted to the parasite and tolerates the infection but serve as source of the infection to other organisms. So relationship between organisms, we have the symbiosis, mutualism, commensalism. No need to discuss that one because I already mentioned that on the topic fungi. So now proceed to sa zoonosis. It is a disease of animals but can be transmitted to a man. Ex Hymenolopis or Nana. And classification of parasite, general classification, animal parasite are classified according to International Code Taxonomy. Each parasite belongs to a kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So genus means a group of close related species, and species means population with the same genetic characteristics. So, in parasites, we have protozoa, the helminthes. Under the protozoa, we have intestinal, urogenital, and blood tissue. And for helminthes, we have cestodes, trematodes, and nematodes. So, protozoa found in intestinal. Example of that is Entamoeba histolytica. And blood and tissue, example of that is malaria, toxoplasma, and last is urogenital, example of that is Trichomonas vaginalis. And then, Entamoeba histolytica is an anaerobic parasitic amoebozoan part of the genus Entamoeba, so predominantly infecting humans and other primates, causing amoebiasis. E. histolytica is estimated to infect about 35 to 50 million people worldwide. E. histolytica infection is estimated to kill more than 55,000 people each year. So, now is morphology. Two forms cis and trophozoite. Infective stage and polluted water and infected food. Pathogenic stage give pathology as a result of infection. So now, let us proceed to the Plasmodium species malaria and transmission. Malaria parasites are transmitted from one person to another by the female Anopheles mosquito. The males do not transmit the disease as they feed only on plant juices. In reproduction, one we have the sexual reproduction in Anopheles mosquito, and second, asexual reproduction in human called sporozoans, in which sporozoans multiply to produce merozoites. This in turn become trophozoites. Toxoplasma gondii. Disease is called toxoplasmosis. So, in transmission, one we have here the eating raw undercooked meat of sheep and cow containing viable trophozoites. Second is swallowing food and water contaminated with infected cat feces. And third is congenital transmission through placenta, fatal, especially when infection occurs during pregnancy, and so on. And now let us proceed to the helminthes. So what are helminthes? Helminths are parasitic worms that feed on a living host to gain nourishment and protection while causing poor nutrient absorption, weakness, and disease in the host. These worms, the larvae live in the small bowel and are referred to as intestinal parasites. So, nematodes parasites of animals occur in almost all organs of the body, but the most common sites are in the alimentary, circulatory, and respiratory system. Some of these worms are known by such common names as hookworm, langworm, penworm, threadworm, whipworm, and ellworm. Example of that is Ascaris lumbricoides. And tapeworm or cystode are flatworms that can live in the human gastrointestinal tract. Adult tapeworms have a head or scolex, a neck, and a segmented body. Example is that is Taenia saginata. Next, and lastly, we have the trematodes or flux or parasitic flatworms with unique life cycles involving sexual reproduction in mammalian and other vertebrate definitive hosts and asexual reproduction in a snail intermediate host. Example, that is the Bilharzia. And that's all about my report. Thank you.